Okay, so we are ready. We're hopefully not going to take too long doing this too. But today, or I think it was either yesterday, might have been Tuesday, President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela admitted something very embarrassing. And it says here, we have to look for solutions. Damn it. Sorry. Had a little echo there. In any case, President Maduro decided to make a little admission of failure. And it says we have to look for solutions. I cannot listen anymore to excuses or whining. And here he says it. So he says, yeah, there's a lot of excuses about our maintenance, and we have a lot of, he says again, we have a lot of excuses. Says the executive or the chief of staff, I think he said the minister of transportation. Everybody has excuses. He says we have to find answers. I do not want to hear any more whining. I need solutions. We have to go from whining to solutions. He says the central government must resolve at the depth all of these problems. He just keeps repeating himself. We have to resolve it all the way to uh, to the depth of it all. So he keeps talking about how the Ministry of Transportation was so successful. They were able to get all of these. I think he said all these buses out of the factory or whatever. It was things that have like little to no relevance to what they're talking about here. He says we have to combine you know a policy of maintenance with a policy of reality and solutions. He says we're at a very critical point where we have to decide what we're going to do for the people. He starts talking about we have to really deal with this issue of transportation because there's a massive gasoline shortage in the country with the biggest oil reserves in the world, and he's talking about we're going to have to decide to put these cards on all the cars of which cars are going to be using. Um, yeah, I messed that part, Alicia, because I'm probably not as quick on the fly translating as you are, maybe, but he said we're going to use these cards in order to decide which cars use this type of gasoline or the other one, or maybe it was deciding which days one would use and which days the others would use. He says we're going to have to really go to the root of the problem due to the grave solutions, the serious solutions that or the serious problems that the country is going through. So, I missed a couple of the things he said, but we're going to we're going to go to the flesh of the people and bring them sustenance directly. This is a guy who is essentially admitting here complete failure, complete and total failure on live TV, on state TV. He's admitting failure. If this is not an admission of failure, then why is he behaving so seriously? Is this just to mug for the camera? Why would somebody go on national TV at a cabinet meeting with all these people looking so serious and try to, make, why would he be pretending? This is an admission that the policies of the Venezuelan government are a complete fucking failure to the root. Okay, now he didn't say it in so many words. He kind of pussyfooted around it, even though he was saying, I don't want any whining. This is whining, by the way. If this is not whining, then, then there's no grapes and champagne. This guy is the king of whiners at this moment. So, this is from VTV, which is it's one of the numerous state-controlled TV and media companies in Venezuela, because Hugo Chavez, his predecessor, basically seized control over the majority of broadcast media. I think that there might be a couple left there that are not controlled by the state. Now, here are the dumbest statements I've seen today about Venezuela over the past decade or so. And if you guys want, you can post. I hope after the upload you can post a comment over what you think are the dumbest ones. This one is from American investigative reporter Greg Palast, who is a complete fucking moron, and all the time he complains about they steal our elections and voter ID is racist. Well, if voter ID is racist, then why do they use voter ID in Venezuela? And in any case, he says, Chavez, Maduro, and Venezuela, the story you don't want to read. This is from April 2nd, 2014. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro wrote an op-ed. He says wrote on op-ed. That's not really English. I'm sorry, sir. In the New York Times yesterday, calling for peace. As someone who knows President Nicolas Maduro, and he misspells his name too, Hugo Chavez's successor, and he doesn't even use an S, possessive S for Chavez. Chavez's successor and Maduro's opponents, I can say that I've never met a head of state, and I've met many who absolutely gives a real shit about the average working person of his nation. So, what's the statement here? Because he says, I can say that I've never met a head of state, and I've met many who absolutely gives a real shit about the average working person of his nation. He doesn't say that he met somebody in Nicolas Maduro that gave a shit, but that's probably what he meant. But apparently, the gift of the scribe is not in this man. Venezuela is Occupy Wall Street on its head. The 1% are out in the street, violently hoping to overthrow the government elected by working people. Are the Kochs involved? Question mark. And then it says, why not read my reports on Venezuela? Now, I haven't opened these yet, but Here's one. Did Chavez's pick steal the election in Venezuela? Again, the horrible, horrible writing quality. It says the guy in the cheap brown windbreaker walking up the dirty tenement steps to my New York office looked like a bus driver. Nicolas Maduro, here he spells it correctly, elected president of Venezuela last Sunday, did indeed drive a bus, then led the drivers' union, then drove Chavez laws through the National Assembly as Venezuela's National Assembly chief. And this week, the U.S. State Department is refusing to accept the results, suggesting Maduro hijacked the vote count. But did he? Maduro came to me, no space. Maduro came to me that day in 2004 on a quiet mission sent by President Hugo Chavez to give me information I needed for my investigation for Rolling Stone. Again, complete, utter garbage of a magazine. And to get information from me that might save Chavez's life. The central topic was the, quote, invisible ring. Venezuelan intelligence had secretly taped U.S. Embassy contractors in Caracas talking in spook speak. That which took shape here is a disguised kind of intelligence, which is annexed to the third security ring, which is the invisible ring. And then in parentheses, invisible ring, someone at the State Department has read too many Alan First novels. I don't know what that means. I think this person could take a few classes of, the Reading Rainbow himself. Watch a few episodes of that. Probably take a little Hooked on Phonics. On the grainy film, they worried that Mr. Corey, a code name we easily cracked, would blow his cover and begin barking, I am from the CIA, I'm from the CIA. Mr. Corey was certainly not from the CIA, an agency holding on to one last fig leaf of discretion. This crew was far more dangerous. From a spy for hire corporation, Wackenhut Incorporated, I'd been tracking Wackenhut for years, ever since their spies, more Austin Powers than James Bond, were arrested while on a black bag job for British Petroleum. They'd attempted to illegally tape a U.S. congressman by running a toy truck with a microphone through the ceiling vents over the lawmaker's head. That's not illegal. It's not illegal, but even clowns, when he's heavily armed, can be deadly. In 2002, Chavez was kidnapped. So this has nothing to do with anything. There's no connection between one thing and another. But even clowns, when heavily armed, can be deadly. In 2002, Chavez was kidnapped with the blessing of the U.S. ambassador right out of the presidential palace and flown by helicopter over the Caribbean, where, Chavez later told me, the president assumed he'd be invited for a swim from 2,000 feet. They probably should have just done it. Instead, just 48 hours later, Chavez was back at his desk. But Washington couldn't quit the coup business. New documents revealed several interlocked methods, or rings, for overthrowing Venezuela's elected government. First, U.S. operatives would monkey with voter registrations, and if that didn't steal the election from Chavez's party, the next step was to provoke riots against Chavez's election theft. The riots would lead to deaths. The deaths would be the excuse for the U.S. to back another coup d'etat to restore, quote, restore order and, quote, democracy in Venezuela, and restore Venezuela's oil to Exxon. Chavez had seized majority control of the oil fields, and Exxon was furious. Now, I want to say here, whatever happened, it didn't happen the way that he told it, that he said this. Because the fact is that they just sued Venezuela International Court, and Venezuela's lost. And now they're in even bigger debt because of that. They're basically, they have to sail their ships from port to port to avoid being confiscated. Maduro had already figured the U.S. operatives wanted to use, quote, the collection of voters' signatures to occur amidst a climate of violence and uncertainty, national and international uncertainty, to cause deaths the day of the collection of signatures. Would this be to justify another coup? Maduro said yes. The justification to tell the world Chavez is a murderer, Chavez is a dictator, Chavez is a terrorist. So this just goes on and on and on. There is no connection between one thing and another. Let me see here. Choice Point Corp. Gotta find another tab here. So this is just like inane bullshit. Choice Point Corp. So there doesn't seem much to be available here. So this is just like a data broker. Yeah, everything that has to do with it just has, the only people that talk about it are Greg Palast and a bunch of other similar, in these times and Information Clearinghouse, and Global Research. All of these are just, far left organizations that sell, that they just share the same information between each other. So where's the real independent verification of this theory? I don't see any. Um, And now Choice Point had the data to allow Homeland Security to do a Florida on Venezuela and Honduras and the others. In 2006, the candidate of the left, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, won the election but lost the Mexican presidency through gross ballot box finagling. So this one was written in 2013, but Honduras, as they all know, was not taken over through an undemocratic election. There was a military coup. So, I mean, they object to the military coup. What does that have to do with stealing votes? You can object to the military coup, but it's not. So this is one of these people, Greg Palast. He has the costume investigative journalist. He has the stupid logo with the plane with the hat on it, and the Indiana Jones outfit. Listen, anybody can do fucking investigative journalism if they just read the details. It's not that hard. I've done it. So, if you want, I'll post this link in the chat. Let me see here. You guys can enjoy that. Who is this Ben guy? Is he just spamming? You don't have to. I don't think. Yeah, right. You don't have to censor this guy. I mean, he's an idiot. Just let him go. He's a fucking moron. Let me see here. This Ben guy has come on like multiple times. I don't need him to. Let me see here. Let me see here. Yeah, this is all bullshit. Here's one. Where do they get their riches anyway? From inherited generational wealth from their parents, quote, earning money through make believe. Well, okay, so who inherits the wealth in Venezuela? The children of Nicolas Maduro. Okay, so Nicolas Maduro's stepson. Here we go. This is U.S. arrests Nicolas Maduro's family members. These people, he is a scammer. He is a spammer. He is a spammer, but he's an idiot too. So what the hell? Yeah, he's been spamming the whole time. So yeah, Ben, you can go suck my dick. Will that solve your scarcity issue? You'll have a real surplus of cum, you asshole. How's that? I solved your scarcity issue. So you have here. This is from The Guardian. The Guardian, which is so right-wing, by the way. Will Venezuela's president drag his people to the edge once he dreamed of... So let me see here. It wasn't this one. Yeah, I'll give you a fucking surplus. DEA arrests relatives of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. So yeah, his kids were so into the proletariat that they got arrested for dealing drugs. Okay, as reported by Spain's ABC, this is not the first time sons of Flores and Maduro have been linked to drug trafficking. Testimony by Liamsi Salazar, the ex-head of security for former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez and the current National Assembly President Diosdado Cabello, accused Walter Jacob Gaviria Flores, a son of Flores, of using planes owned by Venezuela. So Flores is Chavez's wife, owned by Venezuela's national oil company PDVSA, to transport drugs. This was allegedly done in collaboration with Maduro's son, also called Nicolas. U.S. officials have identified Venezuela as the main transfer point for Colombian cocaine destined for the United States, saying over 200 tons of cocaine transits Venezuela annually. This accounts for roughly a third of Colombia's estimated production, reported the AP. So this guy wants to, he wants to make a big deal about the fact that I'm, there's generational wealth or whatever. Okay, if you want to criticize generational wealth, what are these people doing? They're creating generational wealth too, and they're supposedly the socialists. And then they hand the fortune to their kids. So that's enough about Greg Palast and his idiocy. This is Joseph Stiglitz, a Nobel Prize winning economist, who's currently a huge critic of Donald Trump. And he says, it says here, he praised Venezuela's economic growth and positive policies in health and education during a visit to Caracas on Wednesday. That would be on October 11th, 2007. This is from Venezuela Analysis, which is the most pro-government website over there. Venezuela's economic growth has been very impressive in the last few years, Stiglitz said during his speech at a forum on strategies for emerging markets sponsored by the Bank of Venezuela. Venezuela, the fourth largest exporter of crude oil to the United States, has experienced the highest economic growth rate in Latin America in recent years, with 15 successive quarters of expansion, and looks set to close the year with 8 to 9% growth. Despite the high rate of growth, high public spending and increased consumer demand have contributed to inflationary pressures, pushing inflation up to 15.3%, also the highest in Latin America. So inflation was already bad back then. And this was in 2007. However, Stiglitz, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2001, argued that relatively high inflation isn't necessarily harmful to the economy. He added that while Venezuela's economic growth has largely been driven by high oil prices, unlike other oil-producing countries, Venezuela has taken advantage of the boom in world oil prices to implement policies that benefit its citizens and promote economic development. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez appears to have had success in bringing health and education to the people in the poor neighborhoods of Caracas, to those who previously saw few benefits of the country's oil wealth. In his latest book, Making Globalization Work, Stiglitz argued that left governments, such as in Venezuela, have frequently been castigated and called populist because they promote the distribution of benefits of education and health to the poor. It is not only important to have sustainable growth, Stiglitz continued during his speech, but to ensure the best distribution of economic growth for the benefit of all citizens. Although Stiglitz praised Venezuela's positive policies in areas of health and education and policies to promote economic diversification, he assured that Venezuela still faces the challenge of overcoming structural problems associated with an economy overwhelmingly geared toward oil production. Well, I mean, maybe he should have spoken louder at the time, because that's exactly what basically kicked the chair from under Venezuela's economy, and now it's hanging from a noose. In terms of economic development, Stiglitz argued it was not good for the central bank to have, quote, excessive autonomy. Chavez's proposed constitutional reforms, if approved in December, will remove the autonomy of the country's central bank. However, Stiglitz claimed developing nations must strike a balance between public and private control of the market. Well, you don't say. The key to success is to find the correct equilibrium between the private sector and the government, which is different for each nation. Stiglitz also welcomed Venezuela's initiative to create the Bank of the South, due to be founded in Caracas on November 3rd, saying it would benefit the countries of South America and boost development. So, this guy, he goes, Stiglitz also criticized the Washington consensus of implementing neoliberal policies in Latin America, in particular the U.S. free trade agreements with Colombia and other countries, saying they failed to bring benefits to the people of those countries. The Washington consensus is undermining the Andean cooperation, and it is part of the American strategy of divide and conquer, a strategy trying to get as much of the benefits for American companies and little for developing countries. He said Stiglitz also met with Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez in Miraflores, which is their presidential palace. where they exchanged points of views on the global economic situation, economic indicators, and the behavior of world markets. So that's a Nobel Prize economist that said Venezuela is doing just fine back in 2007 and supported them taking control of their central bank. So, this is it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, these people. This is Sean Penn during the cancer benefit for Hugo Chavez. This is another idiot. So that was Sean Penn, who personally had this whole an obsession with this guy, with Hugo Chavez, the guy who did fuck Venezuela all the way, screwed them all the way. This is Danny Glover. You can't hear a video. Let me see if you should be able to hear it. Can you hear it now, Ryu? I don't know what the hell is going on. It says on my desktop audio that it's working. How about now? Okay, if the audio is out on the videos, I don't know what to do about that at the moment because it says on my OBS that it is picking it up. Is that for so it's for Ryu Metadata Man. So basically what he said was that the legacy of Hugo Chavez will continue in the spirit of President Nicolas Maduro. That's what he said. This is so we can't do any more videos so today. Yeah, I know that. I can see that, Ryu. Too bad. And anyways, in any event, so Bernie Sanders said on August 5th, 2011, Washington seems to us is focusing on one gap between spending and revenue. So this is under President Obama. Okay, so this has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with the Republicans. This is under President Obama. And he says Washington, it seems to us, is focusing on one gap between spending and revenue to the exclusion of others. That's unwise because these other gaps also pose threats to America and its social structures. They too ought to be closed. Take the jobs gap, which doesn't need much explanation. There are far fewer jobs than people seeking work, which is why unemployment is close to 10% or higher. If you count those who would like a job but have given up looking. So this is what he criticized back in 2011. Now he's still using some of the same criticisms now that Trump is in office, but the difference is that there are a lot of jobs that there are no people to fill. There's simply a lot of people that are not qualified for the jobs that are available, and a lot of those jobs are in tech or industrial markets that you need training for, and people just aren't taking the right training for the correct careers. They prefer to get degrees in you know anal bleaching or something, like that Ben guy that was on earlier. A quarter of a million people enter the labor force each month. At the current pace of recovery, which is to say slower than slow, closing this gap could take 10 years or more. Talk about a lost decade. So, he just goes through his usual crap about income inequality, which I don't give a shit about. By the way, I don't care if it gets more unequal, because I don't care if somebody's richer than me, so long as I can be able to succeed and advance in my career and make more money. Okay, so I don't care if there's Elon Musk driving around in Ferraris all over the world, as long as he doesn't infringe on my rights. So these are the last two paragraphs. It says, or three paragraphs. White households saw house values decline as well, of course, but they tend to be cushioned by other assets that many black and Hispanic households don't have, including savings accounts, pensions, and stocks. What's pushing the wealth of whites is the rebound in the stock market and corporate savings, while younger Hispanics and African Americans who bought homes in the last decade because that was their American dream are seeing big declines, says Timothy Smeating of the University of Wisconsin. These days, the American dream is more. So this is his last paragraph. These days, the American dream is more apt to be realized in South America, in places such as Ecuador, Venezuela, and Argentina, where incomes are actually more equal today than they are in the land of Horatio Alger. Who's the banana republic now? This is Bernie Sanders in 2011 calling America the banana republic. Okay, this guy. I don't care who's listening, who wants to stick up for him. Bernie Sanders can go fuck himself in the ass along with that Ben dude. Okay, this guy is the biggest pussy in the history of this country. Bernie Sanders, Mister, I stand up for the lower and middle class. Okay, you stood up in the end for Miss Goldman Sachs. That's the Goldman Sachs class. That's who you stood up for. Hillary Clinton. You piece of shit. That's the guy who praised Venezuela. This is Oliver Stone. So just so you know, the guy on the right is Connie Mack, who was a neocon piece of crap too. So let's not let's not kid ourselves over who this asshole is. Mandatory viewing of a film about Hugo Chavez. This is the guy. What the fuck? I mean that he does have a good point, and Jesse Ventura has a good point about the media. And I think it is true that our government lies as well. But the difference is, you should never trust your government, but you should always hope that there's at least some sort of freedom that you have from it. And over there, they don't have it in Venezuela. Over here, we can still fend it off. As of today, we can still fend it off. So again, so Connie Mack, who by the way was a douche too, was not advocating censorship. He was objecting to by objecting to having something be mandatory viewing. That's not called censorship. So the fact is that Jesse Ventura is running interference for Oliver Stone the entire time. Shiska, some of these videos are actually in the description already, so you can already access them there. I'll try to put the other ones in the description when I update the video later. I wasn't intending this to be, a full stream, but you know how it goes. So Jesse Ventura is running interference for Oliver Stone. And I think that they both land good points here because the U.S. media is corrupt. The U.S. media does conceal a lot of the bullshit that the government is up to. However, however, in the end, he's on the Larry King live show, and Larry King eventually did leave CNN, or I think he was just let go by CNN, and went to RT, where he works with, surprise surprise, Jesse Ventura. So what does he want? You know, we still have the option in this country, as long as we keep fighting, to be able to look at whatever media we want. We've been looking at left wing media. Most of the stuff that I feature on this channel is actually not right wing media. It's actually left wing media. If I only featured right wing media, I could just be construed as some sort of Koch brothers hack, or some sort of just a partisan piece of crap. But look at this: CNN, Venezuela analysis, Greg Palast. It's straight from the horse's mouth. The most right wing source I have here is Forbes, which is not that right wing anymore. They're capitalist, which you could make the case as a right wing source, but it's still the only one. Stone looks like Pablo Enrique there in the middle. Yeah, he does look really weird with that mustache. I remember that period. It took me a while to realize that he used to have that mustache. So yeah, that was him, like running interference for the Chavez government. In the meantime, in 2010, Venezuelan TV boss flees regime of terror. So this interview I think was before that. This was in 2010 on June 9th. And meanwhile, about a week later, and this is by I didn't have this article ready for those of you that don't know. I was just pulling it from a I had to go look for it just now. The main opposition TV station was basically hounded and forced to sell to a pro-government person. Okay, this is from The Guardian. The head of Venezuela's last opposition television station has fled the country to avoid an arrest warrant and accused the president, Hugo Chavez, of a reign of terror. Guillermo Zuloaga, the majority shareholder and CEO of Global Visión, said he was the victim of political persecution and that Venezuela no longer enjoyed democracy or the rule of law. The government tries to maintain an external democratic facade, but every day it is more difficult, he told The Guardian in an email interview from an undisclosed location. In Venezuela, we are living under a regime of terror. So this is The Guardian. This is The Guardian. I want you guys to remember, this is The Guardian, the same newspaper that sings the praises of Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, this is not the Weekly Standard. Pinochet says, "Can we watch some Taylor Swift videos next?" Actually, even if I wanted to, apparently I can't get desktop audio to work. So, no, we can't watch Taylor Swift videos. And in fact, one of her songs was stuck in my head this week. So, no, I'm not going to even listen to them because it's just like you can't even escape it. The TV boss said it was a trumped-up charge and that he was going to be jailed in La Planta, a riot-scarred prison in the capital of Caracas. It was the president who directly ordered my detention on radio and TV, he said. I don't think there could have been clearer evidence of the lack of judicial independence and the impossibility of a fair trial. Earlier in the week, Chavez denied any involvement and said the courts were merely doing their job. Last week, however, he complained that Zuloaga was free despite making inflammatory comments about him, after which the Attorney General reactivated the 2009 case which accused the Global Visión CEO of illegally storing 24 new Toyota vehicles to manipulate prices. So this is one of the ridiculous crimes they came up with. They say that if you hoard goods, let's say you hoard your car because you're storing your cars somewhere for whatever reason. Let's say because you can't sell them for a profit at the moment. That's illegally storing something that you own. You can illegally store. Human rights watchdogs said the arrest warrant appeared to be politically motivated. No government in the world has the right to silence critics or those who oppose the state with criminal proceedings. Frank LaRue, the UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression, said. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which, by the way, the left calls, a right-wing group, but I'm just reading the article. A pan-regional group warned that media harassment was growing in the run-up to September's legislative election. The fate of Global Visión hangs in the balance. Nelson Messerhane, a minority shareholder, has been in Florida since a state takeover of his troubled bank on Monday. In a speech yesterday, Chavez said his government was looking to seize Messerhane's assets, including his stake in the channel. If they do not return the owners of the bank, well, my friend, I take it, he said, using a colloquial Spanish expression related to playing cards. So these were people who they owned a TV station, and he basically took it. He just took it. So that's about it. I don't know if there's going to be another stream tonight because I haven't decided if there's another topic I want to cover. There are topics that I would cover that I'm just tired of. This is a topic I will cover till I'll just keep covering it, Venezuela. But there are other topics out there. I'm not going to mention what they are that I would cover that I'm absolutely tired of. But this just fascinates me. It fascinates me that this country has admitted, okay, that they fucked up, that their policies are bullshit, that there's no more excuses, and that there's no more whining. And you're still going to see excuses from the American left. You're still going to see these pussies complain about income inequality and about how we live in an oligarchy or whatever. Let me tell you, you guys live in a fucking sock drawer, you communist filth. Okay, I don't care. I mean, I don't care if I sound like Pinochet in the chat. Socialism has officially admitted its failure in Venezuela, and I don't want to hear any more bitching about embargoes and about sanctions and whatever. They fucked the whole thing up, and there's no more trees to hide behind. Shiska says, what about this New York Times Asian girl that hates white people and they came out to defend her? Look, I mean, we could cover it sometime. I don't know if today. Obviously, it's a hot topic, but I've seen a number of videos on it already. And it would make sense. It would get me a lot of views, but I'm not gonna go repeat things that other people said just because it gets me a few more views. I can do it. I've done it in the past, but I can't. I'm not gonna do it all the time. Isn't it insane how even when the results are disastrous, they will still refuse to admit it doesn't work? Well, it isn't about admitting that it doesn't work. Even it's admitting that they were wrong, and it's knowing that they're afraid that we're going to smugly parade it in front of them, which we have the right to now because they've been saying for years. This was the smug face of Oliver Stone. Okay, let's look for Oliver Stone here. This was the smug face of Oliver Stone. And there's Connie Mack is a smug piece of crap too. Let's not kid ourselves. Gonna have to reload this. Did you guys even hear Shiska, did you hear the audio of when I played that video of Larry King live, did you guys hear it or was it again no audio? Because I didn't see you guys putting comments in the chat about it. Answer. So the score is capitalism. Yeah, exactly. Tell me if you could hear. You couldn't hear the video. Okay, so I mean, what am I gonna say? This video sucked. And the weird thing is, here's a weird thing. I believe that early on, Alicia was able to hear the audio from the Chavez speech. So I don't know if you guys couldn't hear that one either, but it's really weird because I'm pretty sure she was able to hear it because she said that she heard something that I forgot to translate. But that's it. How much more? How many more excuses can they give? They're always talking about human rights. Forget about human rights. Okay? I am not going to preach to you the way the world should be and the way that humans should live. That's what these losers have been doing for years, and they've done much worse than anybody could have ever thought. So I'll talk to you guys later. Please like the video, share the video, even though the audio sucked, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment when it uploads.